Hello, my name is Monica and I work at Watersheds Canada, a national nonprofit and charitable organization that works with landowners, community groups, youth to help them protect their lakes, rivers, and shorelines. And we do this through collaborative resources and programs. One of our recent projects is the Pugnose Shiner Landowner Engagement and Shoreline Habitat Restoration Project, which is taking place in the Quinte watershed to help protect habitat for the Pugnose Shiner, which is a species at risk. This project was possible because of strong community support, and we'd like to take a minute to highlight some of the programs and community groups that made this project possible.
I'm Maya Navrat. I'm an Outreach and Stewardship Coordinator with Quinte Conservation, and we are super excited to be participating in the Pugnose Shiner project in the county of Prince Edward. Our water monitoring staff have been out this summer doing vegetation surveys and water quality monitoring. And so the invasive species surveys are primarily looking at non-native vegetation that could be compromising Pugnose Shiner and other species. And so with this data, we'll be developing reports for the Lake Association to work with them in the future to help address some of these invasive species issues, but also slow and stop the spread of new ones. We've been offering the Natural Edge Shoreline Planting Program here in our Quinte Conservation region. We have quite a few landowners on East Lake and Wellers Bay that have participated, and we're looking forward to working with even more landowners for all the benefits that naturalized shorelines have, but especially for that threatened Pugnose Shiner species. And so having the vegetation on the shoreline will help to slow the runoff and remove excess nutrients from it, leaving behind cleaner water in the lake. The vegetation is casting some important shade and creating that habitat that's so important. Again, not just for the Pugnose Shiner, but all sorts of species, so the entire lake community will benefit.
The Love Your Lake program is a stewardship and education program coordinated by the Canadian Wildlife Federation and Watersheds Canada. Trained staff members go by boat across an entire lake, assessing each property using a detailed protocol sheet. With these findings, they can produce a property-specific report for each landowner on the lake, and this report is filled with voluntary recommendations that the landowner can take to protect the health of their water body.
Hi there, my name is Karen Fisher, and I am currently the chair of Friends of Wellers Bay. Friends of Wellers Bay is a registered charitable organization in Ontario. Friends of Wellers Bay was established in 1989, so it's been around for 31 years now. And its main reason for being at the beginning was to be responsible for the channel between Wellers Bay and Lake Ontario.
And my name's Toby Toth, and I've been the secretary for Friends of Wellers Bay Board for the last couple of years. So the Pugnose Shiner is not a fish that I was aware of before very recently. It's definitely a small fish. It's not one that makes it to the dinner plate. I think a lot of folks in the area probably are not aware of what one might look like, or that there is such a thing. But I am excited about the project, and I think others in the area, certainly some of the citizens in our communities, would equally be interested in protecting or knowing how many are here, because it's a marker for the health of the bay, for that vibrant ecosystem in our waterway. I think probably one of the biggest barriers that folks face as landowners around the bay is just bridging the gap of awareness, not knowing where to seek information, not knowing what they can or ought to be doing on their properties to help, or which activities they may be taking that may potentially be harmful. And folks are really well intentioned, but it's hard to, in this very busy world, collect and gather all this information. So I think one of our key focus points, our roles, I guess, at Friends of Wellers Bay Board is to help the membership and the community at large bridge that gap by bringing in partner organizations and pointing them in the right direction to know more about what's available to them and what they can do to help. And when it comes down to, you know, for example, the Pugnose Shiner is a great project to be here because while, albeit a fish face, it is putting a face to the issue of a species at risk in our own backyard. And that's great to be able to have that as a talking point, to think then about how do we manage, how can we assist.
Using the analogy of canary in a coal mine, you know, it's an indicator that, you know, if the species is, you know, what we find of it is actually decreasing, then we really know that we have to take a harder look at what our impacts are on Wellers Bay. And, you know, again, bringing in all the partner organizations and, you know, what can we do to work together as a community and as organizations to improve that health of the base.
So my name's Don Ross, and I'm a board member of the County Sustainability Group. I was part of the founding group back in about 2006. We'd been advocating for wind farms and solar farms and renewable energy to try to get Ontario less dependent on coal and natural gas and nuclear. And so that was sort of the start of it, and we realized that there were so many issues that the public could really use education and information about. And since we've been here and involved with water rangers, it's given me the opportunity to find all kinds of locations that are really interesting and fascinating, and then feel like I'm doing something to help monitor the conditions of them. We test at this spot where it enters into East Lake, and then we test at the other end of East Lake where it empties into West Lake. What we've noticed over the years is the fluctuating water levels. At times this dock that we're standing on is completely underwater and it's back 10-15 feet further onto the shore, and right now the water's quite low, and we're always trying to not just keep track of the quality of the water, but also what insects are here, what birds are here, what invasive species are around, what weeds, weather conditions. All of those factors play into the health of any area, and so I think this is a really good example of what we all need to protect is natural shorelines. Some of the negative impacts that I've seen over these years is just the increase of development on shorelines, and that people that are building are basically clear cutting right down to the shore and leaving it in a perfectly landscape condition, which is the worst thing for the environment actually. You know, climate change is affecting us all, and we need to realize that every single thing we do, multiplied by millions and millions of people and then billions of people around the world, it's all adding up to out of control global warming. So we need to address that as soon as we can. When we were invited to take part in this Pugnose Shiner project, we were really excited because for us it sort of captures what the CSG is about, is nothing's too small, and everything small is important. So this tiny little fish matters, and the habitat that we need to protect so that it can survive matters. And so it tied in perfectly with everything that we're about, that you do what you can to protect the smallest creatures, and that you do what you think is the most important for the overall benefit to society.